You know that feeling at the end of a long day where your eyes just feel heavy, almost gritty, even if your screen wasn't even that bright?
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to just push through it, but there's actually a silent science behind that called the blink gap. It's this subtle shift that happens to all of us, but we rarely notice it until the discomfort really sets in.
That's exactly it. We're so quick to blame blue light or the glare from the monitor, and sure, those play a part. But there's a much more mechanical issue at play. It's really about the rhythm of your eyelids.
Right. It's like when we settle into deep work, our body enters this state of high visual demand, and we just stop maintaining our eyes. It's fascinating because blinking feels so automatic, but that deep focus actually hijacks the reflex. It's good to remember we have to be intentional about it.
You know that specific feeling when it isn't just tiredness, but it actually feels like there's sand in your eyes. Like even keeping your eyelids open is, honestly, a bit of a chore.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's a real heaviness. I find myself rubbing my temples or pressing my palms into my eyes by mid-afternoon. And it's not just because I'm sleepy. It's like the eyes themselves are physically spent.
Exactly. And that exhaustion is so real. But the thing is, our eyes are incredibly stoic. Unlike a muscle that tells you the second it's overexerted, the eyes just endure that dryness in silence. By the time you actually feel that grit, they've been struggling for hours.
Right. It's so easy to forget how much they're handling behind the scenes. It's really a late signal for a much longer process.
You know, we talk a lot about screen time, but there's this specific concept called the blink gap it's so important for how our eyes actually feel. Think about when you're just out for a walk in the park, right? You're chatting, and your eyes are following their own natural maintenance schedule without you even thinking about it.
Right. It's like a rhythmic reset that happens in the background. But the second we put a glowing screen in front of us, that whole schedule just kind of breaks down.
That's exactly it. And that gap we're talking about, it's massive. It's not just a slight dip, it's a drastic drop in how often we're actually refreshing our eyes. It's really a case of our biology clashing with our technology.
It really is. It's like our brains get so locked into the information on the screen that they actually suppress the urge to blink, just so we don't miss a millisecond of data. It's so easy to forget, but in those moments, we're essentially prioritizing information over hydration.
To really understand where things go wrong, we have to start with the baseline. You know, in a healthy state, we're actually blinking about 15 to 20 times every minute. That's roughly once every 3 or 4 seconds.
It's funny. When you say it out loud, it sounds so frequent. 1, 2, 3, blink. It's like this steady, quiet drumbeat happening in the background of our lives.
That's exactly it. And that rhythm, it's actually non-negotiable for eye health. Every time those lids close, they're performing this complex hydraulic action, sweeping away debris and dragging a fresh coat of tears right across the cornea.
Right. It's like a windshield wiper that's also dispensing fluid. If you stop the wiper, the glass gets dry and streaky almost immediately. It's so easy to forget that we're really designed for that constant rhythmic replenishment.
It's fascinating, right? We know that 15 to 20 blinks a minute is the baseline for healthy eyes. But the second we open a laptop or pick up a phone, those numbers just plummet.
It's so easy to forget. I mean, once we're focused on a screen, we're really only blinking about 5 to 7 times a minute, right?
Exactly. And in those high-intensity moments, like gaming or deep data work, it can drop even lower. It's essentially like your eyes are holding their breath without you even realizing it. They're just starving for moisture.
That's a heavy thought. When you realize that's less than half, sometimes even a third of what your eyes actually need.
That's exactly it. By the time you wrap up an 8-hour workday, you've created this massive deficit. You're literally missing thousands of necessary blinks every single day. It's a lot for our eyes to carry. You know, we've been looking into what's being called the digital stare. And it's not just that we're blinking less, it's that the quality of the blink actually changes. When we're locked in, our eyes naturally widen to take in all that data, which just leaves more of the surface exposed to the air.
Right, exactly.
So we're essentially exposing more of the eye for longer periods, but with way less of that natural maintenance. It really is a bit of a triple threat when you think about it.
That's exactly it. And the wild part is that your brain actually starts to view a blink as an interruption. It suppresses that reflex because it doesn't want to break the stream of information you're processing.
It's so easy to forget that. We think of that stare as just deep concentration, but biologically, it's a state of vulnerability. You're essentially leaving the cornea unprotected against the AC, the dust, and the dry air. It's okay to give yourself permission to break that stare.
To really get why this blink gap matters, we have to look at the tear film. It's actually way more than just water. It's this sophisticated 3-layer sandwich.
Honestly, I think most of us just assume it's basically saline, just simple salt water.
That's a common one, and that is the middle layer. But right against the eye, you have the mucin layer. It's like a glue that lets the water actually stick to the surface. Without it, your tears would just bead up, kind of like rain on a freshly waxed car.
Right, that makes so much sense. So every time we blink, we're essentially smoothing out that adhesive so the moisture stays put.
That's exactly it. It's so easy to forget, but when we don't blink enough, that foundation starts to get patchy. You end up with these tiny dry spots directly on the cornea, which is why that reset is just so vital for our comfort. So let's look at that middle layer, the aqueous part. It's the watery volume we usually think of when we think of tears, but it's doing so much more than just wetting the surface. It's actually packed with proteins and antibodies that proactively fight off infection.
It's almost like a constant nutrient bath for the eye, right? Just keeping everything healthy and clear?
That's exactly it. And it's so important because the cornea doesn't have its own blood vessels. It has to stay clear so we can see. So it's completely dependent on that tear film for oxygen. When we forget to blink, that old depleted fluid just sits there, and fresh oxygen-rich fluid isn't cycled in.
Right, so the eye isn't getting what it needs to breathe.
Exactly. It's almost like the eye starts to suffocate just a little bit. That burning sensation we all get after staring at a screen, it's really just a quiet cry for fresh oxygen and the nutrients it needs to stay healthy. I want to focus on the real hero here, but also the biggest victim of what we call the blink gap. It's the lipid layer, just a very thin, delicate layer of oil floating right on top of the water.
Oil, okay. So it's essentially acting like a seal for the eye.
That's exactly it. Think of it like oil on top of a puddle. It's there specifically to prevent evaporation. It keeps that essential moisture locked in. But the thing is, without that oil, the water layer underneath just evaporates almost instantly.
Right, it's that protective barrier. It's so easy to forget that our eyes need that physical layer to stay comfortable.
It really is. And it all comes down to these tiny meibomian glands right along the rim of your eyelids. Every single time you blink, you're physically squeezing those glands to release a fresh dose of oil.
So if we're staring at a screen and not blinking fully, that oil stays locked away.
Exactly. The oil isn't released and the seal breaks.
It's such a good reminder to just take a second and let our eyes do what they're meant to do.
That's exactly it. It's one of those things that feels so counterintuitive, right? You can have plenty of actual tear volume, but if that oil barrier is missing because of the blink gap, those tears just evaporate into the air within seconds.
It's so easy to forget how vital that oil is. And that's why it's so confusing when people say their eyes are watering because they're dry. It feels like a total contradiction.
Right, but your body is actually just trying to help. It detects that dryness and floods the eye with emergency reflex tears. The problem is, they're just water. Without the oil to lock them in, they either run down your face or evaporate all over again. It's a frustrating cycle of inefficiency, really. You know, there's another nuance here that's so easy to overlook. When we're focused on our screens, we aren't just blinking less. We're actually blinking incompletely. We call them partial blinks.
That's interesting. So the eyelid isn't actually making it all the way down.
Right. It's almost like a tiny twitch, where the lid only descends maybe 60 or 70%. And because the lids don't fully touch, those essential glands aren't being squeezed to release protective oils. It's like a windshield wiper that stops halfway across the glass.
I see. So that bottom portion of the eye is just left totally exposed and unprotected.
That's exactly it. That lower third of your cornea stays chronically dry, which is why that burning sensation usually feels the sharpest right at the bottom of the eye. It's a small mechanical gap, but it makes a big difference in how you feel.
You know, it's really fascinating to think about the brain's role in all of this. I've been wondering, why does such a basic biological need, something as simple as blinking, just get totally overwritten when we're focused?
That's exactly it. It really comes down to what we call cognitive load. Basically, the more intense the task, say if you're diving into a really dense report rather than just scrolling, the more your blink rate just bottoms out. Your brain actually suppresses the blink to maintain what it sees as visual continuity.
Right, so it's almost treating every blink like a tiny blackout, like a momentary loss of data it can't afford.
Precisely. When you're deep in that flow state, your brain decides that seeing the information is just more important than lubricating the eye. It's honestly a bit of a maladaptive trait in our modern world. I mean, we were designed to stare at a predator for a few seconds, not at a spreadsheet for 8 hours.
That makes so much sense. It's so easy to forget that our bodies are still catching up to the way we work today.
You know, we really need to clear the air on this one, because there's such a persistent myth that eye strain is just about screen brightness. But the truth is, you can use night mode or turn the screen completely orange, and if you're still staring without moving, you're still drying your eyes out.
That's such a huge realization. I think so many of us feel like as long as we dim the screen, we're doing the healthy thing. We feel safe.
That's exactly it. And look, dimming helps with glare, which is its own thing, but it doesn't solve the blink gap. In fact, if the screen is too dim and you're straining to read, you might actually blink even less. It's not just about the light hitting your eyes, it's the mechanical lack of motion. We have to remember to just keep things moving. So, if we look just past the cornea, there's this incredible little ring of muscle called the ciliary body. Its whole job is basically to reshape your lens so you can focus on things up close, like the phone in your hand right now.
Right. And when we're staring at a screen for hours, that muscle is essentially staying flexed the entire time to keep that image sharp.
Exactly. Think of it like holding a bicep curl, but for 4 hours straight. Eventually, that muscle just locks. It's what we call an accommodative spasm.
That makes so much sense. It's why when you finally look up and out a window, everything's a bit blurry for a second. Your eye is literally cramped and just needs a moment to relax back into distance mode.
That's exactly it. It's not that your vision is failing, it's just that the muscle needs a chance to finally let go. That's exactly it. That moment where you look at a clock on the wall and it takes a beat to actually snap into focus, that's the hallmark of digital eye strain.
It's so easy to forget how much work our eyes are doing. I've definitely felt that grittiness and the heavy eyelids. It's almost like a physical weight.
Right, and when you combine that dryness with muscle fatigue, you get this perfect storm. You might even notice headaches right around your forehead or behind the eyes.
I think a lot of people just assume it's a normal headache, but it's more specific than that.
Exactly. It's actually referred pain from that overworked ciliary muscle, the one inside the eye that handles focus. It's not just your eyes feeling tired, it's your entire visual system essentially crying out for a break. So, how do we actually break this cycle? Because it can feel pretty overwhelming. Well, the gold standard, what optometrists really swear by, is the 20-20-20 rule. It sounds almost too simple to work, but biologically, it's actually quite profound.
Right, I've heard you mention this. Every 20 minutes, you look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. It's so easy to forget, but it's such a small window of time.
That's exactly it. But, I think it helps to really understand the why here, because that's what helps you stick to it. It isn't just an arbitrary timer we're setting. It's specifically calculated to align with the physiology of your eye muscles and that tear film reset. It's essentially a biological reset button for your vision.
That's a great way to put it. It's just giving your eyes that steady, grounded moment to breathe and recalibrate.
You know, a lot of people ask why 20 minutes is the magic number. And really, it's because that's the point where the ciliary muscle in the eye starts to, well, it starts to lock up. Plus, our blink rate drops so much during deep focus that the tear film actually begins to break down.
Right. It's so easy to forget to even blink when you're locked into a screen. So 20 minutes is essentially our safety threshold.
That's exactly it. If you push past that, you're moving right into the zone of strain. By taking a quick break every 20 minutes, you're just interrupting that stare before it becomes permanent. It's really about prevention, catching it before the muscle even has a chance to enter a spasm. You know, that 20-foot distance, it's really the magic number for your eyes. When you look across the room or out a window, your ciliary muscle finally gets to fully relax. It's essentially the optical equivalent of just dropping a heavy weight you've been holding.
That's such a helpful way to put it. But I'll be honest, I usually just check my phone during those breaks. I'm guessing that doesn't count.
It's so easy to do that, but honestly, no. That's probably the biggest mistake people make. Moving from a laptop to a phone keeps that muscle tightly contracted. You really have to look into the distance to let the focusing mechanism disengage. It's the only way to let the lens flatten out and actually rest. So, let's talk about those 20 seconds. It's really the minimum amount of time the eye needs to fully relax and, more importantly, to recoat itself properly.
It actually takes 20 seconds just to relubricate. That feels like a long time when you're in the middle of a task.
It does, right? But that's how long it takes for a few slow, conscious blinks. You're essentially overriding your automatic system. You want to gently squeeze your eyes shut and then open them. It's like giving those meibomian glands a little nudge to release the oil and seal that moisture back in.
That's exactly it. It's such a simple way to protect yourself, but it's so easy to forget when we're focused. It's really about giving your eyes that moment to breathe.
When we talk about squeezing the eyelids, we're really talking about what we call hard blinks. It's not about being forceful, it's just about being very deliberate.
Right, that makes sense. Because most of the time we're just fluttering our eyes subconsciously, and it's so easy to forget that those quick blinks aren't actually doing the heavy lifting.
That's exactly it. A flutter doesn't quite get there. With a hard blink, you want to close your eyes and just pause. Feel the lids fully meet. I like to tell people to imagine they're gently pressing a soft button with their eyelids.
I love that analogy. It's so much more reassuring than squeezing. So it's that specific, gentle pressure that actually activates the oil glands?
Exactly. Without that full contact, the oil just stays trapped. So while you're taking that 20-second break, just try to incorporate 3 or 4 of those slow, intentional blinks. It's a small, steady way to really take care of your eyes. We talk a lot about the 20-20-20 rule, but honestly, we have to look at the space you're actually sitting in. I like to think of it as building an eye sanctuary. And the first thing we have to tackle is humidity.
It's so true. I mean, we love our AC and our heaters, but they really are moisture vampires. They just strip the air dry.
That's exactly it. And if the air around you is dry, your tear film is basically evaporating before it can do its job. It's why your eyes feel so gritty by 3 p.m.
Right. And it feels like a personal failing, but it's really just your environment.
Exactly. Which is why a small desktop humidifier can be such a game changer. It's not about the whole room. It's just about adding that local moisture right in front of your face to slow down that evaporation.
I love that. It's a simple hardware fix for a biological problem. It's about being kind to your eyes.
So let's talk about where that screen is actually sitting on your desk. Ideally, you want your monitor just slightly below eye level, so you're glancing down at it rather than staring straight ahead, or even worse, tilting your head up.
That's such a small shift, but it feels significant. Why does that specific angle matter so much for our eyes?
It's really just simple geometry. When you look down, your upper eyelid naturally drops, covering more of the eye. You're essentially shielding that sensitive surface. But if you're looking up or straight ahead, your eyes are wide open, and that just lets the moisture evaporate so much faster.
Right, that makes total sense. So by just lowering the screen, you're essentially narrowing that gap of exposure without even thinking about it. It's such a grounded, easy way to give your eyes a little extra protection throughout the day.
I wanted to circle back to lighting for a second, because it's something we so often overlook when we're deep in a task.
That's exactly it. Contrast is really the key here. You want to avoid those extremes, like using a bright screen in a pitch black room or having a window reflecting right off the glass.
Right, because that glare just forces your eyes to work so much harder to actually resolve the image. It's exhausting for them.
It really is. And that extra effort is what triggers that stare mode, which just kills your blink rate. You're looking for that soft, ambient light that matches your screen's brightness.
It's a bit of a balancing act. I love the way you put it. If your screen feels like a flashlight in a dark cave, it's too bright.
Exactly. And if it's looking dim or muddy, it's too dark. You just want that steady, grounded middle ground where your eyes can finally relax. Another simple trick we should talk about is just increasing your font size. It sounds basic, but we often squint at tiny text without even realizing we're doing it.
That's exactly it. And that extra focus, it triggers that blink suppression we were just mentioning. It's almost like our eyes are too concentrated to let us blink naturally.
Right, and let's be honest, it's often a bit of vanity, isn't it? We want to fit as much as possible on the screen at once.
It's so easy to forget that our comfort matters more than the layout.
Truly. But honestly, just bumping that size up by 10 or 20% makes a world of difference. It reduces the cognitive load, the actual brain power needed to recognize letters. Your face relaxes, the squinting disappears, and your blink rate can finally start to recover.
It's so important to remember that. You want to get to a point where you can just lean back in your chair and read comfortably without the struggle.
We've looked at all these external factors, but what about the internal side of things? Something as simple as, say, just drinking enough water. Does that actually move the needle?
It really does. That's exactly it. See, if you're systemically dehydrated, your body starts to conserve water, and tear production is often one of the first things to slow down. You just can't produce that aqueous fluid if the tank is empty.
Right. It's so easy to forget that our eyes need those basic building blocks too.
Exactly. Now, it isn't a magic cure-all, it won't fix the oil glands, but it provides the raw material for the middle layer of your tears. It's really about making sure the factory has the supplies it needs to keep running. You know, we get asked about eye drops so often, and it's one of those areas where people are trying to do the right thing, but might accidentally make things worse.
It's so true. There's a real temptation to grab those redness relief bottles when your eyes feel tired, but those can actually be pretty tricky.
That's exactly it. Those drops work by constricting your blood vessels, and eventually you hit a rebound effect. Your eyes actually get redder over time because they're essentially starving for oxygen.
Right, it becomes a bit of a cycle. So when we're feeling that scratchy, dry sensation, what's the safer way to find some relief?
You want to look for preservative-free artificial tears. They're much closer to your natural chemistry and don't have those harsh chemicals that cause irritation with frequent use.
I love that. It's helpful to think of them as a gentle supplement for your eyes, especially when you're stuck in that blink gap during a long workday.
Exactly. They're there to help when you feel the grit, but they aren't a replacement for the actual habit of blinking. They support the eye. They don't fix the behavior. You know, if you're looking for a bit of a spa treatment for your eyes at the end of the day, a simple warm compress is honestly one of the best things you can do. It's such a gentle way to help those oil glands stay clear.
That makes sense. And is that just like a warm washcloth?
That's exactly it. A washcloth works perfectly, or you can even get those specific eye masks you pop in the microwave. See, the oil in our meibomian glands can actually thicken and clog up. It's a lot like butter sitting in the fridge.
Right, it gets too solid to move. It's so easy to forget that those glands need a little help sometimes.
Exactly. But just 10 minutes of heat melts that oil right back down, so it can flow freely again. It's incredibly soothing, and it really gets to the root of that scratchy, evaporative dry eye feeling. It's just a nice way to reset.
You know, when you really step back, so much of this just comes down to mindfulness, just being more aware of what our bodies are actually telling us.
That's exactly it. We've fallen into this habit of treating our eyes like they're just cameras, tools for a job, instead of living organs. It's about retraining the brain to notice that slight dryness before it turns into real pain.
Right, and it's so easy to forget when you're focused.
It really is. But if you can just check in periodically and ask yourself, are my eyes dry? Am I staring? That question alone is usually enough to trigger a deep, refreshing blink. It's about building a much kinder relationship with your vision. So, just to bring it all together, we've talked about that blink gap, which is really just our biology struggling with the way we stare at screens.
Right, and it's so easy to forget. That's why that 20-20-20 rule is such a lifesaver for breaking that focus spasm.
Exactly. Along with those hard blinks to keep the oil glands active and making sure your workspace, the humidity, the monitor height, is actually working for you, not against you.
It's a holistic approach, isn't it? It's less about one magic fix and more about adjusting how we live in this digital age.
That's exactly it. Your eyes are incredibly resilient, but they do need your help. These small, steady steps really do turn that daily strain into focus you can actually sustain.